In this video, I want to break down 6 side hustle ideas for students. Although I hope these will apply even if you're not a student. Before diving into those ideas, I want to share some thoughts on side hustles. One way people often watch these types of videos is by skipping ahead to see the magical way of making money. However, there is no magic bullet for making money. The fundamental way to make money is by providing value to people who are willing to pay for that value. This is the first law of making money. Many people are looking for an easy solution, but understanding how to make money is a skill. Once you grasp the principles of making money, you won't need to watch videos on different side hustle ideas. Instead, you'll be able to apply these principles to your own skills, life, and context. Maybe in a few years, you'll be the one making videos on how to make money on the internet. So why are we even talking about this? Occasionally, I get comments accusing me of being obsessed with money because I make many videos about side hustles. But I also create content on productivity, health, sleep, relationships, and dating. I enjoy making videos about side hustles and passive income because they have completely changed my life. If you're watching this, you might be interested in building another source of income. It's not just about the money, but the freedom that money can buy. Ideally, you don't want your income to be tied to a single source of employment. During the pandemic, many people realized the risk of relying on one job. Especially in places like the US, where health insurance is tied to employment, losing a job can be devastating. If you love your job and it brings you joy, you are among the lucky few. But most people would appreciate an extra $2K a month. If you can establish multiple sources of income, you unlock the ability to live life on your own terms, gaining freedom from tasks you don't want to do and freedom to pursue what you enjoy. My side hustle journey began when I was 13, starting with web design. That was my first side hustle, which I did for about 6 years, earning my first few $100s online. My second side hustle was private tutoring, where I taught math and science, earning between $5 and $20 an hour, from ages 14 to 21. During medical school, I started a company helping people get into medical school, making around $40,000 a year in profit. This income allowed me to live comfortably as a student and even get a mortgage on a flat with my brother. My most recent side hustle was starting this YouTube channel in 2017. After 3 years, the channel started making over $1 million a year. The success of the YouTube channel allowed me to take a break from full-time medicine and focus on this new venture. This passion for side hustles comes from the transformative impact they've had on my life. I hope you'll consider starting a side hustle to gain additional income and the freedom it brings. Now, let's discuss the how of making money with side hustles. The first law of making money is to provide value to people who are delighted to pay for that value. There are broadly 3 vehicles for providing this value: services, products, and content. A service business involves providing a service someone is willing to pay for. A product business involves creating a product and selling it. A content business involves creating free content, monetized through platforms, where advertisers pay for the attention generated by your content. In this video, we'll focus on 2 content-based side hustles and 4 service-based side hustles. We won't cover product-based businesses in this video, but we'll address them in a future one. Generally, we want our side hustles to fulfill 3 needs: flexibility, fun, and financial return. Ideally, your side hustle should offer the flexibility to work when and where you want, be enjoyable, and generate reasonable financial returns. Online side hustles often provide these benefits because they allow flexibility, offer numerous enjoyable activities, and can attract buyers from around the world. Throughout this video, I'll share examples of people who have successfully implemented these side hustles. The goal is to learn from their experiences and apply the principles to your own context, skills, and interests to create an additional source of income. Having said all of that, let's dive into the 6 side hustle ideas for students and see how they fit into this broad framework. Side hustle 1, writer. The first side hustle idea is to become a writer, fitting into the content branch. An example is Jack Rains, who started a finance and travel newsletter while a student at Columbia Business School. After 2 years, he gained tens of thousands of readers and charges around $1,400 per ad, making about $5,600 a month. Jack also offers consulting calls for additional income. The barrier to entry for writing is very low. You can start with a free account on platforms like Substack or Beehive. If you want to connect with successful writers, show that you've done the work by reading their content and demonstrating your dedication. Side hustle 2, content curator. The second idea is to be a content curator. Unlike a content creator, a curator collects and shares content created by others. Eduardo Morales, for example, created an Instagram account called Pin Lord, curating and selling enamel pins. He grew his account to over 100,000 followers and makes about $3,500 a month. Another example is Alex, who curates insights and summaries from books on his social media accounts. Content curation can be lucrative, but it's important to understand that it often follows a J-curve, requiring an initial investment of time and effort before seeing returns. Understanding the nature of J-curve businesses is crucial. These businesses require significant upfront investment, with returns appearing over time. In contrast, non-J-curve businesses, often service-based, allow you to start making money immediately. The key is recognizing which type of business suits your situation and goals. In conclusion, side hustles can provide valuable flexibility, enjoyment, and financial returns. By understanding the principles of making money and choosing the right type of side hustle, you can create an additional source of income and achieve greater freedom in your life. Side hustle 3, thumbnail designer. Now again, the way we make money is by creating value for people who are willing to pay for that value, or people who are delighted to pay for that value. One category of those sorts of people is YouTubers like me. We have money and we're delighted to pay money because we know about the importance of thumbnails. So if you can be a thumbnail designer for YouTubers, that is a very reasonable way of making money through the internet in a way that's fun, with freedom, flexibility, and finances, and all this kind of fun stuff. I want to share a couple of examples here. There's this guy, Diltoma, and there's this article that talks about how this guy, at the age of 19, turned designing thumbnails for YouTubers into a full-time job. He began making thumbnails for gaming YouTubers when he was still in school. And when he started off, he would sell one of these thumbnails to his clients for about $15. Then, after graduating high school, he was looking for opportunities and realized that some other big YouTubers were genuinely advertising for a thumbnail designer. Because he had the experience and the skills and had done the thing, he managed to land that job. Now he charges over $250 for a single thumbnail, and he's got multiple huge YouTuber clients that he's making these thumbnails for. He's probably making a stupidly insane amount of money. So this thing that started off as a side hustle, with him in school doing thumbnails on Photoshop, probably a pirated version of Photoshop, not gonna lie, no shade. I pirated Photoshop as well back in the day, but he probably just started this off as a side hustle. Now he's able to make several thousand, maybe up to $10,000 a month, doing thumbnail design as a service. The other example here is one of the alumni from my part-time YouTuber academy. His name is Matt Brighton, and he's a YouTuber now. But back in the day, he made money on Fiverr designing thumbnails. In this article, he talks about how he made over $10,000 from designing thumbnails for other YouTubers. That's not to say you should go and become a thumbnail designer, but it is to say that it is an example of a service that you can provide to someone who is willing to pay, who is delighted to pay money for that service. I've mentioned this thumbnail design thing a couple of times in videos in the last 2 years, and we have had lots of people now email us being like, hey, I've redesigned your thumbnails. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? And I appreciate the hustle, but mostly they're not very good. If you want to land a YouTuber client as a thumbnail designer, just recreate some of their thumbnails and do a better job than what their current thumbnails are already. Keep in mind the vibe and the brand that they're trying to create. If you can do that, you're basically guaranteed to get a job. We are still looking for thumbnail designers, and still to this day, you just need to put in some time and effort into learning the skill because, like we talked about, there are no free ways to make money. You have to provide a skill, you have to provide value, and sometimes it does take time to learn how to provide that value. Side hustle 4, research assistant. The first example here is this guy called Drew Burney. This guy was a student in a PhD program and managed to land a job as Mark Manson's research assistant. Here's a clip where he talks about how he did it.
Was actually, I was in my PhD program. I was taking this class that was really, really hard. I'd sat down for a study session with a group of students, and we were waiting on a few people, so I just decided I'm gonna pop open my laptop and see what Mark's been up to, because I hadn't checked in for a little while. And right there, it's big letters, "I'm hiring." And my heart just jumps right up into my throat. I'm like, oh, he's hiring again, what? And I read the description and it's like, I need somebody who can research, I need somebody who can write, I need somebody who is a self-starter, and everything. I'm just like, oh, this is too good to be true.
Wow.
It can't be, at that point.
That is an incredibly high value skill which you can provide as a service to people who are very willing, very able, and very delighted to pay for that service. Side hustle 5, remote sales rep. It's one of the new fads in the world of making money on the internet, but it's actually pretty legit. The idea behind being a remote sales rep is that there are a lot of companies out there who need someone on Zoom calls and on the phone to be able to sell their product to their customers. If you can be the person to field those phone calls or the Zoom calls, to be able to talk to customers, to be able to talk them through the process and educate them on whether the product is right for them, then every time you sell the product, you'll get some kind of commission on that product. That is what a remote sales rep does. There's a great example of this guy, Wouter Tweetoy Nissan. I don't know how you pronounce that. This guy was a 20-year-old student in the Netherlands who tweeted at Sean Puri, basically giving him some free thumbnail advice. Sean loved the free value that he provided, so he offered him an internship with his company. Now this guy sells ads for Milk Road Daily and has sold $250,000 worth of ads in 60 days while studying full-time. He's basically being a remote sales rep. This isn't really a traditional remote sales rep job, but it's enough that we're using it as an example, and also because he's talked about his story, which is just a cool example. But essentially, he's selling all these sponsorships on this newsletter, and he probably gets a cut of some of the sponsors that he sells. So if you're the sort of person who enjoys talking to people, if you like the idea of picking up the phone or going on Zoom calls and selling things to people, and you think that you might be good at that, you can make tons and tons of money as a remote sales rep. This video is not going to teach you how to do it. There are lots of other videos on YouTube where people specialize in being remote sales reps and actually teach you the ins and outs of how to do it. But it's an interesting way of making money if you think that you might enjoy that sort of thing. Side hustle 6, a web designer. Finally, side hustle idea number 6 for students or for anyone else is to become a web designer. This is really old school, but it's still ridiculous how few good designers there are out there and how much startups are willing to pay for designers. I was at this business conference a couple of weeks ago, and one of the guys I met runs a $100 million valuation startup. He was saying, "We're trying to hire 6 designers, but we can literally find no one who is good. There's such demand for designers out there. I know someone who hired a web designer and paid them $400,000 a year to just be a web designer full-time for their startup. But if you want to do it as a side hustle initially, then A, you've got to learn the skill and be good because, money is an exchange of value. Once you're good, then it's very easy to find people who will be delighted to pay you for that service, provided you're good and provided you find the right people. The example here is this guy called Chris Minarek. Around 6 years ago, Chris went through a split with his wife, which obviously had a huge impact on his life relationship-wise and also financially. He decided he was going to teach himself how to code and learn how to build websites. So he used the free tutorials on Codecademy, and once he learned how to create websites, his first few clients were friends and family who he worked for free. Then he went over to Upwork to find various clients, and now apparently he's earning over $3,000 a month. I don't know if this is fully up to date, and I'm pretty sure Chris could be earning way more than $3,000 a month if he went off Upwork and tried to find clients directly. I don't really like the idea of advertising services on a freelance platform like Upwork or Fiverr because there's just too much competition out there, and it's quite hard to stand out. The path I would take is what my friend Henry did, where he decided that he was going to learn how to design websites in Webflow. He spent 6 months learning the skills and then became so good at designing websites that he designed his own personal portfolio website. That went big on Twitter. He started engaging with all the web designers on Twitter. They started to respect his work as well. Then he managed to land a bunch of really high-paying clients. For Henry, this thing that started off as a side hustle, he had no background in coding, he had no experience in web design, and with dedicated practice over 6 months, He taught himself the skill to the point where people were paying him over $10,000 every time he was designing a website for them. Now, if you go to the end of this incredibly long video, I would love it if you could leave a comment. What did you take away? And in particular, what action point are you going to take as a result of watching this video? Because you've watched this video for a very long time now. Most people who clicked on this video would have clicked off in the first minute when they saw me philosophizing. So the fact that you're here and watching this means that you have a stick-to-itiveness that is probably in the 90th percentile at least of people. Because I suspect only 5–10% of people will actually get to this point in the video. But I think without an action point, stuff like this is actually totally pointless. There was no point in watching this video if you're not going to take some kind of action away from this. So I'd love to hear in the comments as a bit of an accountability for you and for me, because it's useful for me to see what people are doing. You know, is it still worth making videos like this? What is the action point that you're going to take as a result of this video? Now, once you've done that, in this video, we talked about content and services as a way of making money, but we didn't really talk about products. So in this video, I'm going to break down a few different product ideas that you can use to make money on the internet. Passive income, side hustles, all that fun stuff. That'll be there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you hopefully in the next video. Bye.